Guys, this is Tara with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot, and today I want to share with you my very first psychic fair experience. I've never been to a psychic fair before. I've always wanted to go to one. I could never find them in San Diego. Then when I moved out here to Arizona, there were some people were talking about, oh yeah, there's psychic fairs that kind of happen, all over the place. I hear that there's one coming up in Tempe in September. And so I was like, oh my goodness. Number one, I heard that there were Ren fairs and there's some psychic fairs. And I'm like, I'm home. But anyway, so I didn't know what to expect from a psychic fair. Like, I assumed there would be like tarot readers and people selling sage maybe and pendulums and stuff. I didn't really know, kind of going in, and it was pretty cheap. It was $5, and there was over 70 like readers and vendors and specialists and things like that. And there was also free lectures that were going on. There was only one that was paid, and that was for again, a group setting, but the person was a medium, and they were going to be giving messages to people's loved ones, from spirit. And so I thought that was really cool. That's something that I do as well. So I just kind of wanted to look at, what are the offerings? Like, what is a psychic fair? It was held at the Phoenix Sheraton Crescent, near downtown Phoenix, close near there, somewhere on the outskirts. Phoenix is huge, you guys. Like, you don't know, you don't even know. It's like the 9th largest city in the United States. It's massive. So anyway, $5, got in, went with James, and just from what I saw, like when you first walk in, there was a booth of a guy that was selling organite, all different forms and shapes. Usually I just see them like in necklaces or pyramids, but there was like wands, and there was like, it just so many interesting like carvings and uses for organite. So I thought that was pretty neat. There was somebody else that was selling like lotions, earth-friendly lotions, aloe vera, things like that. Somebody else, they were selling like something about magical nails. I didn't really look too much into that booth, but it was something to do with like press-on nails, but there was some sort of like frequency that had been added to them. I thought that was like a really cool idea. So these are like things that, I've heard of organite before, but like frequency nails, hadn't heard of that. That was pretty cool. And of course, people selling like jewelry, like, high vibe jewelry, earrings, necklaces, rings, things like that. Somebody else was selling creams, again, a lot of very earth friendly, vegan type stuff, for beauty products, for creams, for there were certain creams for if you have sleep issues, or you're wanting to bring more love into your life through a cream and stuff like that. So I thought that was really neat. But those were the like booths and things that were kind of in the entrance. And then off to the side was the auditorium where the free seminars were taking place, if you wanted to take a look at that. So the seminars varied from like people talking about tarot, people talking about Reiki, people talking about spirit guides, and all of that. So I thought that was really fascinating, that if people wanted to learn more, there were people that were, basically pretty knowledgeable in their field, and they'd be able to give you a free lecture on that. So I thought that was pretty nice. A lot for your $5. And then you go into the main hall, or the ballroom. And like I said, there was about 70 booths that were there. And so, yes, there was a lot of tarot readers, but it's like you're overwhelmed. It's like, if you're somebody who gets visually, auditorily overstimulated rather quickly, then you better go in with like some extra grounding and mega shields when you go in. Of course, I was making sure that my shields were reinforced, not because I think that the people there have icky energy or anything like that, but if you're going to be in a spot where there's a lot of people and everybody has their own energetic frequency going on, and everybody's in a different emotional state, and you have all of these magical practitioners, and you have all of these, psychics and intuitives who are like their little antennae and feelers are out there trying to connect to everything, then you have a lot of energy going on. So it's good to kind of reinforce your own energetic shields so that you don't take on too much of that and get drained and miss out on all the fun that is the psychic fair. So I saw there was actually like two people that I could have sworn, I was like, I've seen these people. I don't know where I've seen these people before, but I know I've seen these people. Even one lady was just wandering around. She didn't even have a booth. I was like, how do I know these people? One of them his name is Bob the Psychic, and it's because I've seen him on YouTube. I was like, oh my God. So Bob the Psychic was there, and there was another lady, I believe she's on Instagram and not YouTube, but she sells, it was like a lot of like healing balms and salves and chapsticks and things like that all had been attuned with a frequency, which I thought was really neat. I saw people that were laying on the floor and laying on cots that were getting different treatments done. Like there was somebody that was doing like free Reiki for people. So it was like a free 10 or 15-minute Reiki sessions where somebody was sitting in a chair and the person had their hands on that person's head. And so they were doing a bit of Reiki there. I saw somebody else that was doing like full body Reiki. There was somebody else who was talking about scans, like body scans, kind of like I do, where I do a energetic body scan, but there was a particular thing or device that they used to scan people's bodies for areas in which it needed help. And then I wasn't too clear on what it was they were doing, but I know that they were trying to help heal certain parts of the body, just using a unusual technique that they had. So I thought that was pretty neat. So they had like the spinal cord, like a plastic model of a spinal cord sitting out there and a skull, and kind of look like you're at the chiropractor's office, and then there was this other gentleman who was off in the corner, and he had these bottles of like colorful liquid, and they were like in these really neat leather pouches, and I was like, what are those? And so what he was doing is, because people are like, is this like a drink? Or he's like, no, it's paint, different colored paints. But basically he would grab somebody's hand and he'd kind of, put his hand over, he's like, do you feel my energy? And they're like, yes. He says, well, that's what I put into these bottles of liquid, not like paint, but kind of like paint. And basically he attunes them with a certain type of energy depending on what your ailment is. So basically those were all uncharged bottles. And then let's say you came in and he had a list of things that he would help with, things having to do with like hip pain, osteoporosis, cancer, eye issues, all sorts of things that he says that he could help. So basically he would ask you what's wrong. If you were like, oh, I got some back pain, he would then put his energy into that liquid, and then you could hold the bottle and like wave it around where you hurt, basically. And it's like carrying his energy around with you for that specific purpose of whatever your ailment is. I thought that was a fabulous idea. I'd never heard of anything like that before, so I thought that was really cool. There was, of course, other booths that were selling like sage, like walking sticks, lots of different types of jewelry, crystals, a lot of crystals that were there, of course, a lot of the bigger crystals and some polished crystals. And some people had more elaborate booths where they had like the big like posters behind them, and they had like lots of stuff out on their tables where they had maybe like 2 or 3 people working in their booth. There were some people that didn't have any signs at all, so it was kind of hard to tell like, what do you do? They maybe had a couple of pamphlets, but it was kind of hard to figure out, and they would just kind of like be sitting there, and it was so fun to be able to see readings going on all over the place. Like everywhere you look, there was like somebody doing a Celtic spread, somebody else doing a 3-card spread, and it's just like listening to the sounds of the tarot readers. I was like, I'm in my element right now. I must join them. I did bring a tarot deck, but I left it in the car because I was like, there's gonna be a lot of other readers there, So so anyway, it was just fantastic just being able to see to be in a place where everybody's just like open. You could be as woo woo as you want. You could talk about, the reptilians if you want. Like, everybody's like on your level. Like, they're like, yeah, we know what you're talking about. No need to like muggle your words. So that was a lot of fun. Where else there was one booth I wanted to do something at that booth, but like I didn't want to spend like a ton of money while I was there. So maybe the next psychic fair. But I've always wanted to get like aura photography, where they take a picture and like you can see like your aura. Of course, yes, there are many of us that can see it like without the photography, but I think it's just cool because number one, I'm a photographer, so I like that kind of stuff. So I wanted to do it. It was like everything was a lot cheaper since it's at the fair. It's like a fair price. So it was like $40 for the aura photography. Didn't get it. I really wanted to, but there was like so many people signed up, and there was only like 70 people there, and so I wasn't 70 vendors, I should say. It's only like 70 vendors and booths that were there. So I didn't think I was going to be able to wait like 3 hours to be able to get my aura photography done. So maybe next time. But what I did do is I went to what do they call it? It was like doing eye readings. I'll insert a picture of my eyeball, but basically it's like a husband and wife. And what the husband does, again, involving cameras, because photographer here, they take a couple of pictures of both of your eyes. So one eye over here, one over here. They shine a little light to be able to get more picture of like the, all the stuff that's going on in your pupil and your iris and, all of that. And any little veins that you have in your eyes, they want to be able to see them clearly. So then once the husband takes the pictures of your eyeballs, then he sends those high resolution pictures to his wife, who's sitting at the end of the table. And she did like a little 15-minute reading. You could do where like you get the reading recorded on, cassette, and then she was selling her book and, a few other things that you could have done. But I was so curious. Like, number one, I have like an eye phobia. Like I have a thing about eyeballs. Even looking at my own eyeballs, like if I get an eyelash, I get really creeped out because eyes are squishy, they're sensitive, ewy. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and get an eye reading. So anyway, it was kind of cool to see my eyeball all like blown up. And the lady was talking about, the different portions of the eye, that above the eye, at the top there is like your spirituality, and in the inner corner, that's like the path that you're on. You have your ancestors in the past here, and and then there was another section that was down here. There was like connected and sensitive eyes, and basically mine was a sensitive eye, just depending on how all the little like parts of your iris like connect together, and so people with sensitive eyes are more like empathic and usually a little bit more psychic and things like that, or a little bit more open, I should say. And then she was asking me if I was like an introvert or an extrovert, and I said I'm an introverted extrovert. I said sometimes like I really don't want to be around people and I don't want to talk, and I know I'm like a Gemini, but Geminis have the two sides, right, where you have duality. The other part of me is like life of the party, like let's party rock. And so she thought that was interesting because she's like, if I were to cover like the bottom half of your eye and I was just looking at the iris, up top, I would say that you're a mega introvert. But looking at the bottom half, you're like a mega extrovert. So she says you definitely are the best of both worlds. You're an introverted extrovert. I was like, that's so cool. And she was able to, talk about like my ancestors and stuff like that. And she was talking about a focus ring, which basically, I mean, I don't know if you guys look at my eyeballs, but I have a black ring that goes around my brown eyes, my iris. And she says that was considered a focus ring, and a focus ring is when somebody has like intense focus on things, like it would have served somebody who was a warrior or a fighter of some sort, where you were like being able to focus intently on something in order to perform a task. She says, which is beneficial but could be hurtful, if you're walking around with horse blinders on because you're intently focused on one thing and you totally ignore everything else, which, hello, me. So she says, it was nice to hear these things, because sometimes when we notice things about ourselves, we're like, yeah, and we don't do anything about it. But it's like when somebody else notices these things about you and you're like, I've been called out, I see. And then you're like, well, okay, maybe those are some areas that I could work on. So, that was pretty neat. And she was talking about that sometimes within the iris and the little veins that you have in your eyes, when it's blown up like that, people often see faces of like crossed over relatives or animals. And actually, I saw a horse, like it was it in this eye? Yeah, but there was a horse in there, and horse is one of my totem animals. I love kittens, yes, but I love horsies too. I would love to see a kitten riding a horse. That would be the ultimate. But anyway, so yeah, horses are one of my totems. So she said it was interesting that I saw the horse in the life path section of my eye, which shows that, horse is helping me to stay on my path. And whenever I do see horses, it's a reminder that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And of course, I often see horse imagery because I am so connected to them. So I thought that was interesting. But then I also went to a reader that I have seen her shop. I've seen her physical shop in Scottsdale, and I've taken video of it, and you guys have seen it before, but it's like got all the Cleopatra stuff. It's called Cleopatra's Temple, or the Temple of Cleopatra, but it's got like the cool golden statues, it's got bust, it's got, other, Egyptian deities and golden pyramids. And I haven't been able to go into her shop because every time I go there, she's been closed, but I go at odd times. So, I mean, but basically she's there between, she's there Wednesday through Sunday, I believe, 11 to 6. So if you're ever in Scottsdale and you want to look up Cleopatra's Temple, like, she's a fantastic reader. So I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get a reading from, I kept calling her Miss Cleopatra, but she's, I believe it was the Grandmaster Giraldi, I think was her name. But I just kept calling her Cleopatra. But anyway, as you guys know, I have like a deep connection with Egypt. So how do I not get a reading from Miss Egypt herself? So she was fabulous. I like could see a lot of myself in her. That was so cool. And so the reading that I got, I was asking about what shadows I could work on to help me to open up more financial independence, because now all I'm doing now is like YouTube, my Kittens, Weights, and Tarot, like my shop, Desert Cauldron, and that's how I'm supporting myself. So I'm in Patreon, of course. And it was like, but what could I do to help really increase my finances, so that I could be more financially independent doing the things that I love to do. So I want to know what blocks are there, what shadows are there, so that I can work on them. And she's like, okay. So she's like, boom, boom, boom. She's like, first she starts off with like a Celtic cross. And then she just starts pulling out all these cards, and she just like basically starts calling me out. Which, hey, I asked for shadows, right? But yeah, she was talking about, she knew right away that I had an ex-boyfriend, and that there was something financially that hadn't been buttoned up yet, that needs to be complete, so that I can, move on. But she says that's basically the way I operate, that I always need to finish one task at a time before moving on to the next thing. So just to kind of be aware of that I can be moving on to other things, even if this one task isn't quite complete yet, but it will be complete. And basically that's my house. We haven't quite buttoned up the house yet. And then, let's see, she was just talking about other things that tend to weigh on my shoulders, or that I allow to weigh on my shoulders, that kind of prevents me from allowing abundance in. She was also talking about like my dreams. She was asking if I have very vivid dreams, and I said I do, and oftentimes I'm like flying, and I've shared my dreams with you guys like during my live chats, that I have all these crazy dreams. And she was like saying that, yeah, you have these dreams, but let's start making your dreams work for you. So she actually had me write down an affirmation to read every night before I go to sleep, and another affirmation for money that I need to kind of repeat kind of throughout the day, and another affirmation to remind myself of my own power. So I thought that was really cool. I actually have I have a little paper here of affirmations that she had me write down. So yeah, I found that really beneficial and really helpful. And then she was just kind of talking about like my personality, and how subconsciously I don't believe that I deserve, or that I'm doing the right thing although on a conscious level, like I love what I do. And so she said there's like this disconnect, you know, that where when I'm trying to manifest one thing, like the opposite happens. And it's because there's like this reversal going on, basically almost like a reversed card, but inside of me, you know, where my subconscious is like, no, you only deserve this. And my conscious is like, oh, yeah, I deserve this. But, you know, so when I'm trying to get one thing, the opposite happens. And I'm like, and so I was like, oh, wow, that kind of does happen. Not all the time, but that happens every once in a while. So she was basically saying that I could use my dreams to reset my subconscious so that I could start being more in alignment with my conscious self. So I thought that was really beneficial. But anyway, I hope to see her again in Scottsdale because that would be amazeballs. But yeah, that was my experience at the psychic fair. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, so I got those 2 readings. And I really enjoyed the eye reading. I really enjoyed Cleopatra's Temple. So yeah, I thought I would just share that with you guys, you know, because it's my very first experience at a psychic fair. And they said there's another one in September, a little bit different. More people, they said, more booths. So perhaps I'd check it out because it is in Tempe, which is where I live. So all right. Anyway, but let me know, have you guys ever been to a psychic fair? Like, what's it like in your guys' towns? Are there big ones that I should know about that I don't know about here in Arizona? Or maybe ones that are like huge that are in California or New Mexico, anything that's kind of neighboring this state that I could go to, you know, would be kind of cool. But yeah, let me know, comments, questions, and thanks for hanging out. So if you dug this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe, and don't forget to click that ding 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 notification bell for more videos just like this. And if you want to catch a reading from me, head over to www.kittensweightsandtarot.com. I have a lot of different readings along with my conjumancy readings and my scrying. And I have some salves that I make, and I have my room and body sprays. But if you want even more witchy goodness, then check out Desert Cauldron, all one word, on Etsy, or at desert.cauldron on Instagram. And it's a little witchy shop that James and I own. And we have handmade one-of-a-kind items in that shop for your magical one-of-a-kind practice. So definitely check it out. All of my other links are down below for my Leon Mystery School, where I teach Mayan astrology, and oftentimes you can see my free daily Mayan astrological message over on YouTube, or it's not YouTube, but Instagram. I have my newsletter, my witchy newsletter is down below, Patreon, all that good stuff. So anyway, I will catch you spiritual homies later. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out.